Hi guys, welcome back to TOEFL with Juva. Today I give you a template for the independent essay in TOEFL writing. This template helps you increase your TOEFL writing score considerably because it gives you the vocabulary and the structure you need for your TOEFL essay. And it saves you a lot of time. By the way, if you want to get more tips for the TOEFL and download templates, subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss the next video. Let's get started. Let's start with the introduction. In the introduction, you need to write 3 sentences. The first sentence is the hook. The hook is a sentence that introduces the topic of the essay and catches the reader's attention. The hook is pretty much freestyle. The easiest way to write the hook is to have a look at the prompt and rephrase it. After the hook, you write your thesis. The thesis is your direct answer to the question asked. And it's very important that you write your thesis in the correct way, because how you write your thesis depends on the question type that you get in the TOEFL. The 3 question types that are most common are preference questions, agree-disagree questions, and multiple choice questions. If you get a preference question, you can start your sentence like this. Personally, I prefer. This shows the examiner that you understand what this question is about. It's a preference question, and that's why you use the words I prefer. You saw that in the video where I showed you how to write an essay for a preference question. If you haven't watched this video yet, check it out. You can find the link in the description below. If you get an agree-disagree question, you can start your sentence in this way. I agree or I disagree. And if you totally agree or disagree, you can also write I totally agree or I totally disagree. If you get a multiple choice question, the question will propose several options and you have to choose an option and say why this option is the best. You can write I think that blah 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 is the best, and then you go on. For example, in the video where I showed you how to write an essay for a multiple choice question, I said I think that exams are the best method of assessment. The third sentence you need to write in your introduction is the transition. The transition leads from your introduction to your body paragraphs. The transition is like a bridge that you build for the reader, so that the reader knows what is coming next. For example, you can write, I feel this way for 2 reasons, which I will examine in this essay. Now, let's start with the first body paragraph. You should start this body paragraph with first or first of all, to indicate that you are talking about your first reason now. And then you go on and you explain your reason. And this is the part that can be a bit tricky. When I started studying for the TOEFL, I found it really difficult to explain my reason because I just didn't know what to write about. To make this easier, I started to think about transitions that I can use at the beginning of a sentence that trigger ideas. I will show you these transitions now, and then I will explain to you how you can use these transitions to explain your reason better. The transitions I used are obviously, in other words, in contrast, and consequently. As you can see, these transitions belong to different categories. In the first sentence, I stated my reason, and then I knew, okay, now let's talk about something that is connected with my reason and that is obvious. And then let's describe this in other words. And then let's add another sentence and let's talk about the contrast. And in the end, I talk about the consequence. So this gave me a structure to explain my reason better to the reader. And if you do that in your TOEFL essay, you can explain your reason to the reader, which means that you can make your essay clearer, you can write more, and you use great vocabulary. After you have explained your reason to the reader, you need to provide an example to strengthen your reason. You want to show to the reader that your reason holds true. And that's why you need to provide an example. First, you have to indicate to the reader that you are going to talk about your example now. So, for example, you can write, "This is best demonstrated by my personal experience." And now comes the part where you talk about your example. You need to explain to the reader what your example is about, and you need to elaborate a bit on that. You can start your first sentence with "when I was." For example, "when I was a child," or "when I was at school." And then you state your example. After that, you elaborate on your example. You can go on with "furthermore," and then you can talk about the consequence as a result. And now comes something very important, guys. If you want a high score in the independent essay in TOEFL writing, you must show the examiner that you can handle more complex English grammar. And an amazing way to do that is by using an if clause. If clauses are not easy to write, and that's why they show that you have a good understanding of English grammar, and that's exactly what you want to show. I like writing my if clauses at the end of my example. You can write, "If I had not, I would have," or "I would not have." For example, if I had not been required to write this exam, I would not have learned how to write concisely. Let's go on with the second body paragraph. The second body paragraph has exactly the same structure as the first body paragraph. And now you can use a trick, guys. What you're going to do now is you simply find synonyms for the transitions that you used in your first body paragraph. So you will use exactly the same structure, just with different words. Again, first you state your reason. Since this is the second body paragraph, you start this paragraph with "second" to show the reader that you are talking about your second reason now. Now you need to explain your reason. And what we are going to do now is we simply find synonyms for the transitions that we used in the first body paragraph. We started the first sentence when we explained our reason with "obviously." What I'm now going to use is "evidently." Evidently means the same as "obviously," but it's a different word. And so you show the examiner that you have a broad range of vocabulary and that you deserve a high score in the independent essay in TOEFL writing. After that, you go on and you start your next sentence with "in short." "In short" is pretty similar to "in other words," which we used before. It simply means that you're expressing something in a more concise way. And then you go on and you say "as opposed to state a contrast. And in the end you say "hence," which shows that you are talking about a consequence now. Now you're done with explaining your second reason. And what you need to do now is you need to talk about your second example. Again, you first need to show the reader that you are going to talk about your example. And now we will use a different expression. In the first body paragraph, we said, "This is best demonstrated by my personal experience." We are not going to write that again. We are going to use "for example" or For instance, in the following, you need to elaborate on your example. And now we don't start our sentence with when I was at university, at school, or whatever, but with I once did or I once took. For example, I once took a course at university where I blah blah blah, and you go on. Or I once had to write an exam that was very difficult. After that, you go on. In our first body paragraph, we used the word furthermore. And now we are using additionally to show that we are adding an idea. And then we talk again about a consequence and we use thus. And I'm pretty sure that you know what is coming next. Right, here comes another if clause. Again, you write if I had not, I would not have, or I would have. For example, if I had not written this exam, I would not have learned how to memorize information. Now let's write the conclusion. In your conclusion, you need to do two things. First, you need to restate your thesis that you stated in the introduction. And second, you need to restate your reasons that you stated in your body paragraphs. You can start your conclusion with in conclusion. I think this is a great transition because it shows the reader that you're talking about your conclusion now. The reader knows exactly what this paragraph is about, and it's really easy to remember. Then you go on and you restate your thesis in different words. And after that, you restate your two reasons. You simply write, this is because, then comes your first reason, and then you go on with and because, and you state your second reason. That's it. This is the template for the independent essay in TOEFL Writing. I hope this video was helpful to you guys. If you have any questions or a video wish, tell me about that in the comments below. And if you want to get more tips for the TOEFL and download templates, hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss the next video. I'd love to see you here next time. Bye bye!